Hello there, my fine, wonderful audience. Today we are going to be talking about science. Yes, that class you either love or you hate. Okay, so we're talking about three important scientists and what they did in science. Okay, so let's do this. Now, as you all may know, COVID-19 has taken over the world in the year 2020. It's awful. But thanks to science, we know what to do to prevent from getting that. Like this example right here. Washing your hands. Now, it may seem simple, but washing your hands is actually good. It's scientifically proven that it'll kill germs, and that's great. In the time of the plague doctors would make you bleed out to get the disease out of you. Now, that's not scientifically proven, and it's actually harmful for you. Science plays a huge part in technology. Like, without science, we wouldn't have wheels. And without wheels, we wouldn't have cars. And you know what else we wouldn't have without science? Telephones. And you know what else we wouldn't have without telephones? Smartphones. Yeah, the one you use every day. Technology is very important. And so is science. This plays a very big role in technology. Who knows what the future of science will bring us to? The first scientist we are going to be talking about is a man called Galileo Galilei. Now, this man is a very important man in astronomy. Like, without him, we wouldn't know a lot of stuff. And I'll tell you why. Galileo is from the country Italy. Galileo's father wanted Galileo to become a doctor, so Galileo went to university for that. But he wasn't interested in medicine. He was interested in math. Galileo heard that someone in the Netherlands built a telescope. He immediately built one after and looked up into the stars with it. He made some very good observations. He noticed that the moon had craters in it. Everyone at that time thought that the moon was smooth, but apparently it was not. Now, everyone at that time believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. But when Galileo looked up into the sky with his telescope, he noticed that it wasn't. It was the sun was the center of the universe, and the Earth revolved around it. Now, this was very controversial back then. The Catholic Church was huge back then, and if the Catholic Church didn't agree with you, then you were in so much trouble. And that's exactly what happened to Galileo. He had such a big argument with the Catholic Church. It was so bad that they had to put him under house arrest for the rest of his life. But it turns out that Galileo was right all along. All his thoughts were right. Now, all of you must sympathize for Galileo because quarantine is kind of like house arrest, except you're not a criminal. Now, I don't know about you, but I think Galileo Galilei is a very interesting man. And he's probably the greatest astronomer of all time. Okay, the next scientist we are going to be talking about is a man by the name Charles Darwin. So, let's get on with it. Darwin is from the country England. Just like Galileo, Darwin's father wanted Darwin to become a doctor. But to become a doctor, you would have to see operations, and Darwin just got sick when he saw operations. Darwin preferred to do taxidermy, which is stuffing animals. He did that for a while. One day he got a letter that asked if he wanted to sail in the Beagle. Darwin said yes. The Beagle stopped at the Galapagos Islands. Darwin noticed 4 different finches on each of the islands, and they all had different beaks. Darwin thought maybe they just evolved to have those beaks for what they all ate. One for cracking nuts, one for eating bugs, one for eating worms, and one for eating flowers. He had a brilliant theory. But he decided to keep it secret at the time. He didn't want to get anybody upset. And he didn't want to cause a controversy. Eventually, Darwin published a book about what he saw and what he thought. And it was really controversial. Queen Victoria hated it. Bishops despised it. But some people agreed with him. Darwin's theory is still controversial to this day. And whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit, he's a very smart man. And the last scientist I am going to be talking about is Marie Curie. So, enjoy! Marie Curie is from the country Poland. Marie was always the smart girl in school. She got great grades. Marie Curie tried to go to the University of Warsaw, but she was denied because she was a woman. Only men were allowed in, even though she was brilliant. It's sad, but sexism was very popular at that time. It's frowned upon nowadays, but it's still a thing, sadly. Help stop sexism. The only university that would take Marie Curie in was the University of Paris, but she was in Poland at that time, so it was hard. But eventually, she did get on a train that went to France. Marie was poor, so the only thing that she could eat was bread, butter, and tea. But she was happy because she was studying at the university, which is what she loved. Marie's future husband allowed her to use his lab. They were lab partners. There was a new technology at this time called X-rays. At this time, scientists were noticing that there were invisible rays coming out of rocks. Marie and her husband started melting these rocks in their lab. After 4 long years, they finally discovered that there's a green, glowy thing inside the rocks. Marie called them radiation. Once they discovered this stuff, people started to use radium everywhere. They used it on watches, for clothes, but most importantly, they used it to kill off cancer cells, which is great. But little did they know that this substance was actually harmful for them. They got radiation poisoning. But this was a long time ago, so they did not know that. Marie Curie became the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. Not only that, but she won 53 Nobel Prizes. That's impressive. Marie Curie is a very important scientist. Without her, we wouldn't know what radium is. The difference between all of these scientists is that Galileo was into astronomy, Charles Darwin was into evolutionary biology, and Marie Curie, she was into chemistry. People who are not scientists but use science in their job are business people. They do this because they want the customer to feel good. So they have to try experiments on the customers to see what they like and what they don't like. I think it is very important for there to be scientists nowadays. If you don't like science and you do not want to be a scientist, that's fine. You do whatever you want. But if you do like science and you want to become a scientist, that's great too. It's important to have scientists because humans know a lot about the world, but we also know very little about it. That is why we have to discover things. And that's what's great about scientists. I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.